What the most dangerous opponent facing the Philadelphia Phillies isn't wearing a rival uniform, but rather typing furiously behind a keyboard, attempting to dismantle the very foundation of this franchise with a narrative built on journalistic laziness and a fundamental misunderstanding of baseball's corporate reality. That's the toxic cloud currently blowing down Broad Street, and it demands immediate and decisive dissipation before it reaches the gates of Citizens Bank Park. Our beloved lunatic Philly fanatic would lose his mind if he read the bizarre fiction the national media just vomited onto the digital landscape this morning. Philly fanatic mascot Citizens Bank Park crowd. Today's headline, penned by writers who apparently have never bothered to read a single page of Major League Baseball's collective bargaining agreement, had the audacity to suggest that our Showman, our two-time MVP, the absolute face of this franchise, Bryce Harper, could be saying goodbye to Philadelphia. And what was the flimsy excuse they used to construct this fantasy? The contract extension of our pitcher, Cristopher Sánchez. Yes, my friends, they are attempting to sell the idea that rewarding pitching talent means signing the departure papers for our biggest star at the plate. We are activating the alarm in our war room right now, turning on the spotlights and dissecting this narrative line by line, because the level of investigative sloth in that article is a genuine technical knockout to the intelligence of any Phillies fan. Philadelphia Phillies front office war room analytics. Let's begin by dismantling the primary farce, the titanium shield known as the full no-trade clause. The article cited as a basis for this absurdity talks about the front office having no incentive to pay Harper more, and that the scenario will become complicated, suggesting that the parties could go their separate ways. Gentlemen, when Bryce Harper signed that monumental $330 million, 13-year contract back in early 2019, he demanded a no-trade clause. He put it in writing that he did not want opt-out clauses and that he did not want to be traded. He planted deep roots in the state of Pennsylvania. The president of baseball operations, the brilliant and pragmatic Dave Dombrowski, is legally incapable of dispatching Bryce Harper anywhere else. The player holds the keys to the vault, the alarm code, and the deed to the house. He only leaves Philadelphia if he, and only he, signs a document requesting to leave. And guess what? He repeated ad nauseum throughout spring training that his life's goal is to hoist the World Series trophy during a parade down Broad Street. This threat of parting ways does not survive a quick read of the contract. It is a gigantic bluff and pure, cheap engagement bait in the opening week of the season. Bryce Harper contract, no trade clause, Philadelphia Phillies. Now, let's dive into the corporate mud the article attempts to use as an argument. They mention the comments Dave Dombrowski made back in October 2025, after our playoff exit. That famous episode where Dombrowski said Harper didn't have an elite season and that he didn't know if he returned to top 10 MLB level. Look, we follow that soap opera. Was Harper annoyed? Yes, he's a fierce competitor. He even recorded a batting practice video wearing a shirt that read, "Not elite," to send a heavy indirect message. We know that baseball culture demands these criticisms be made behind closed doors, and Dombrowski erred by publicly exposing the department's evaluation. But to transform a late-season vanity spat, a communication misstep, into an irreparable corporate collapse that will result in the departure at number 3 is an ornamental dive into an empty pool. Dave Dombrowski Bryce Harper postseason comments media reaction. In today's Major League Baseball, high-ranking executives and superstars clash all the time. It's professional sports at the highest level of stress. Dombrowski doesn't want Harper off the team. He just wanted to provoke the competitive spirit of a player who finished the year with an OPS of 0.844. 844. In the minds of 90% of the league, that's the best year career. In the minds of Harper and Dombrowski, it's an okay year. That's the beauty of having astronomical standards. We're not talking about a complacent player. We're talking about the guy who turns into a caged lion in October. Bryce Harper competitive intensity playoff performance. But what truly infuriates me is the way the content machine attempts to distort Cristopher Sanchez's wonderful contract extension to create an imaginary jealousy crisis in the Phillies clubhouse. Let's look at the administrative intelligence of this extension. Sánchez already had an extremely team-friendly contract. The front office looked at him, a 29-year-old who transformed into a lethal sinker ball machine, who had a spectacular year in 2025 and decided to reward him. $107 million guaranteed until 2032. Cristopher Sánchez contract extension Philadelphia Phillies pitching. The article tries to convince us that, ironically, this deal ensures that the contract restructuring Harper asked for will never happen. What? Where did the writer get the idea that the payroll of a title contender operates like a neighborhood bakery's cash register? Where if you buy flour, you don't have money for sugar. The owner of the Philadelphia Phillies, John Middleton, has made it clear in recent years that he wants his trophy back, no matter the cost. He cares little about the competitive balance tax penalty, the famous luxury tax. The Phillies have an open vault. Sanchez's signing doesn't take a single cent out of Bryce Harper's pocket. In fact, it shields the team's championship window for the next 5 years. John Middleton Philadelphia Phillies ownership luxury tax championship. When the team re-signs Zach Wheeler for a king's ransom, when it holds on to Aaron Nola, when it brings in Jesus Luzardo, and now locks up Cristopher Sánchez, the message to the clubhouse and to Harper himself is very clear. We are assembling a shield of elite pitchers to ensure your effort at the plate is not in vain in the playoffs. Rewarding the starting rotation is exactly what a veteran star wants to see the franchise do. An intelligent leader in his early 30s, like Harper, knows that the arms of the pitchers are what carry the team to the rigorous month of October. To create a false narrative that Harper will feel slighted because a teammate deservedly filled his pockets is to understand absolutely nothing about the dynamics of a winning clubhouse in professional baseball. Philadelphia Phillies pitching rotation Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Jesus Luzardo. And let's be even more incisive in this financial analysis, because the article's dishonesty needs to be exposed without mercy. The text says, if Dombrowski isn't sure Harper can return to elite form this season, imagine what he thinks Harper will be in his later years. So what? This is baseball. When you sign a 13-year, $330 million contract with a 26-year-old player, you, the executive, already know perfectly well that the last 3 or 4 years of the contract will be statistically heavy. Every general manager knows that you pay for the absurd peak and swallow the weight of age down the road. The Phillies front office already bought that ticket back in 2019. They are not discovering now that his ID card will age. His value is not just at the plate, but in the astronomical sale of jerseys, in the leadership of the young players coming up from the farm system, and in the sold-out Citizens Bank Park every hot summer night. Bryce Harper contract value, aging curve jersey sales leadership. We do not operate in the vacuum of a cold Excel spreadsheet. The city of Philadelphia has embraced Bryce Harper in a way that very few athletes have experienced in history. He respects the working-class fan in the stands. He respects the history. He understands what it means to sweat in that classic pinstripe jersey. Do you really think the franchise is simply going to throw that level of popular adoration out the window? Face the fury of the entire city. Because an internet writer thinks Cristopher Sánchez's bank account caused a market freeze? The idea is so absurd it's comical. Philadelphia Phillies fan-based Bryce Harper City connection. Elite franchises like the Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Yankees, the Atlanta Braves, and our Philadelphia Phillies are playing a different corporate sport than the rest of the league. They operate on the logic of maximizing the championship window by tolerating punitive fines. Middleton wants to see the world champion sign illuminating the Liberty Bell, paying whatever fines he needs to pay. Therefore, connecting the salary of the number 3 or 4 pitcher in the rotation with the financial viability of the franchise player is a cheap, weak, and unfounded argumentative trick. MLB elite franchises championship window luxury tax penalties. Furthermore, the story of a Harper contract restructuring is another point where the media gets tangled in its own threads. Yes, Harper's agents floated the idea some time ago that they would love an extension to take him into his 40s and ensure he was a Philly for life. But the front office was very polite and firm in holding back emotion, which is the absolutely correct corporate procedure. He still has many years under strict team control. There is no institutional urgency to sign a new contract on top of an existing one. Just to massage the ego of his agent, the hyper agent Scott Boras. The lack of a new multi-million-dollar extension now does not mean the relationship has soured. It simply means business as usual. Bryce Harper contract extension Scott Boras agent negotiations. So, Philadelphia fan, when the stadium announcer calls out number 3's name and the music swells. Lift your head and applaud with the unwavering certainty that the foundation of our team is rock solid. Bryce Harper will march to home plate, adjust his gloves, stare intently at the pitcher, and look for the long ball, because the sweat dripping from his face now has the same shade of red that colors the pride of our city. Bryce Harper batting Citizens Bank Park game day. We have audited, dissected, and nullified this corporate fiction. The article has been relegated to the minor leagues of credibility. With no right of appeal, Dombrowski may be gruff, Harper may be temperamental, and the pitchers may be getting rich. But at the end of the day, they're all in the same boat, rowing hard toward a single objective. They are not parting ways. They will support each other, push each other, and drive each other to the physical and tactical limit to bring the championship parade back to Broad Street. Philadelphia Phillies Team Unity Championship Go Broad Street Parade. Our baseball analysis room never sleeps, and our internet noise radar is always beeping. Rest assured, do not share despair and trust in the intelligence of our front office, which today is one of the most lethal and astute in the entire league. The smoke from the headlines has been blown away from Citizens Bank Park. Ring the bell. Let the bell ring. Because the season has begun and the Phillies machine is calibrated to crush opponents. Ring the bell, Philadelphia Phillies baseball season start. We conclude our tactical and financial review here. Your team's shield is armored against these market follies. Stay tuned to our frequency, because wherever there's a lie about sports giants, we'll be there with the scissors and the facts in hand. Let's go, Philly.